Welcome to another episode of the Swoop Shoes Podcast, episode number 20. My name is Eric, as you all know. Armani, Ernest, he's unable to attend, but he's going to be listening. So we are deep into the NCAA Tournament. Right now, it's the second round, just getting started. We're just going to recap what happened during the first round, especially the first day, Thursday, which was wild. You had a bunch of double-digit seeds moving on to the next round. And last night, you had a couple of blowouts. So we all knew that in the last couple of episodes we said about the upcoming tournament that we're going to have a lot of upsets. And the biggest one of them all, we had the St. Peter's Peacocks out of Jersey City upsetting the 2 seed in the East region, the Kentucky Wildcats. We had a couple of 12 seeds, New Mexico State beating UConn.
Mm-hmm.
And also we had Richmond beating Iowa. Richmond, Virginia, the Spiders beating Iowa. And he had a couple of 11 seeds advanced also, Michigan. Also,
Iowa
State, Miami, a 10 seed.
Notre Dame,
11 seed. We almost had another one with San Francisco and Murray State.
Yeah.
That was the last game of that Thursday evening, which became a how can I say? It was like a back and forth team scoring at it. He had Jamari Bouye going off for 36 points, just keeping his team in the game.
I feel like they had that game, man. Once they took the ball out of his hands, man, it was just they fell right into the game plan of Murray State. That's exactly what Murray State wanted, and unfortunately, San Francisco was unable to pull out the W.
So they have played well, actually, I thought both teams had plenty of chances to win. Murray State had like a lead late in the game. They botched it late. They were up by 3 and let Bouye hit a 3 to tie the game instead of fouling. Mm-hmm. So, and then during overtime, there was going back and forth. Bouye was just
like 35 or something like that, right?
Yeah, 36 points,
something like that. Yeah.
But Murray State there, they will keep on coming back. They were throwing haymakers left and right. And this is the beauty of this time of year, the college basketball, the NCAA tournament. But you have teams that most of the country don't know. You get to see on the national stage, and they show off, they show out, and it captures the attention of the whole nation. Yep. So you're gonna see a whole lot of for the rest of the weekend and for the rest of the month, leading to the Final Four down in New Orleans. We had the first number 1 seed lose today. North Carolina beating Baylor in overtime.
Yeah, crazy.
Even though North Carolina had a 25-point lead, Baylor came back with that ejection, and then Baylor started to make their run late towards overtime, and then you start to see Carolina assert their dominance like they did back in the first half and early in the game. So North Carolina would be heading to the Sweet 16 in Philadelphia in the East region. Right now, you have Creighton, number 9 seed, and versus number 1 seed Kansas. And
you can't sleep on Creighton, man. You can't. I'm watching them play right now, and they're just having like a slugfest with Kansas right now. So you can't sleep on them. And they barely passed San Diego State. So like you cannot sleep on those guys.
Yeah, it was a winter because that game, I believe Creighton had the lead.
Yep.
San Diego State had a 9-point lead. Then Creighton came back. One of their big men was injured. He had a knee injury. He's out for the season. So they've been getting hit left and right with injuries, but they're still hanging in there.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens. we'll see what happens next in the second half. Um, Games we got later today. We got Michigan and Tennessee. Um, I believe with that game, I could see Michigan. I could see Michigan pulling off another one today.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we got Richmond playing Providence and St. Mary's playing UCLA.
Rich what?
Rich
Richmond.
Richmond, Providence. I really like Richmond. What they did against Iowa back on Thursday. Iowa couldn't even. It was ugly for them. I mean, they couldn't. They couldn't get any baskets. Keegan
Yeah.
Murray was struggling, but he also held his own late. But that dude Jacob Gilliard from Richmond, they've been on a hot streak since their conference tournament began last week. Because remember, they had to win their conference tournament just to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still on that. They're on like the 6 game win streak. So another intriguing game for um coming up later tonight. I really like Richmond to really get this one and move into the Sweet 16. Was any also last night you had a couple of teams you had a couple of double-digit teams had leads late but lost. Illinois versus Chattanooga,
Mm-hmm.
perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
Chattanooga had a 20-7 lead. They had to lead throughout the whole game, but you felt like Illinois was right there in
They show
Chattanooga.
their vulnerability, man.
It was not that vulnerability, but it was like Chattanooga was playing not to lose.
Mm-hmm.
They was like trying to desperately like drain the clock instead of playing their own game. And Illinois, even though they couldn't make shots left and right in the first half, and the majority of the second half, they was hanging in there, they hung in there, and then late in the game, we had Matt Plummer who gave him 3 big baskets, and Kofi Coburn, the big man, the center, was wreaking havoc on Chattanooga's front line, and they held on. They held on late, and what I found out crazy was that Chattanooga had the lead for like 36 minutes, 38 minutes. Illinois had the lead for 45
Like
seconds and won the game.
I thought it was like 25 seconds or something like that. I remember seeing the stat saying they only had to leave for like 25 seconds.
Yeah, 25, 35. It felt like
Something like
that.
something like that.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
real. It
something like
was
that.
real
But
quick. Yeah.
yeah, it was real quick. But but here's the thing: they won it. They got the lead at the end of the game.
Yeah, crazy.
So they had their chances to win their first tournament game. Now they lost 6 straight. Illinois, they advance next, and they will play Houston, the
Mm-hmm.
Houston Cougars, who dominated the game against UAB. Arizona last night, it was tough. It was a close game first half against Wright State. Then second half they took over. So they'll play TCU on Sunday, who
Mm-hmm.
beat up on Seton
Seton
Hall.
Hall. Yep.
So and shout out to our one of our hosts, Ernest. He comments saying that a lot less one and done players. Exactly. So you see these teams who had 3 or 4 year seniors, 5 year seniors, super seniors. Look at Richmond, same thing. Also with the COVID situation, they were they had players who were eligible to stay for extra year. So that allowed them to come back for extra year for a 5th year or even some of the 6 years to really get a chance to play in the tournament. So we're gonna I guess to me in the future we're gonna see a lot of that more. Um, and also you combine that with the NIL and that whole situation of being able to have players being able to take advantage of the name, image, and likeness.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives them more of a incentive to stay for a couple extra years and just to like get at least get a shot to play in the tournament. What are your thoughts, Amani?
I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like some of the players they just need to like just ride the wave. You know what I'm saying? But but what we've seen with college basketball and like the NBA is definitely trying to help the young prospects with college basketball, especially with like the G League and everything. So this is something
Mm-hmm.
that Ernest spoke about on the last episode that we had with Jamal when we was talking about like how players, growing up, they feel the need that, I'm gonna just leave college after my first year. I'm gonna have a really good tournament. I'm gonna leave after this first year and go chase the dream of being in the NBA. Whereas that the G League comes into play and now they can be like, all right, cool. Like I may not be ready for the pros yet, but I can still be polished and have my game be polished off and still make good money, in order to get where I need to be. So I mean, it's like a double edged sword when that I
Mm-hmm.
think when it comes to it, one and done players and also like just players just just riding the wave and like, all right, cool, I'm having a great tournament right now. You know what? A lot of scouts looking at me right now. A lot of teams interested in me right now. I think my next move is to go to the pros.
Yes, definitely. And also with the combine coming up in a couple months,
Hmm.
players they get to like they see what's happening, where their draft status is, where their skills are, and then they can decide whether to forego their rest of their careers in college and go to the draft or come back for like and play more years at school. Also, Ernest said that Colgate almost won last night. Yes, definitely. So
Yeah.
Colgate first half last night, another team, another 13 seed that had the lead, going back and forth, and then Wisconsin, their defense second half late, so it's late in the game. They literally shut down Colgate's ability to shoot the three, and once they did that, that was game over. Johnny Davis, projected top lottery pick, he came alive in the second half, dropped 25 points. So they'll be playing in the next round Sunday, and they'll be playing. Let me see, get the bracket. They will be playing Iowa State. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Um, a lot of people. Also the one matchup that a lot of people are looking forward to tonight, especially since we talked about it at the start of the show, St. Peter's versus Murray State. Um, Ernest was saying that the Jersey City, it was wild in Jersey Thursday night. I can tell because
Right.
what was so fascinating about that game was that one, the head coach of St. Peter's, Shaheen Holloway, played for Seton Hall back in the early 2000s. He also led that team into the tournament back in 2000 and led them to a tournament win. So now you getting rumblings of, oh, can he be hired by Seton Hall and this and that, because this coach of Seton Hall, Kevin Willard, he's rumored to be going down to Maryland to take that Maryland job. So it's going to be an interesting game. I know a lot of people are going to be tuned into it against Murray State, um, a mid-major team that's had a really good season, 2 losses throughout the whole year. So this is what the tournament is about. Letting the small. This is what the tournament is about.
Yeah. When I feel
The
like,
small schools, the Cinderella teams, they
yeah,
get that one big win,
that's
and then
exactly what
they're
it
in the
is.
limelight, and then it changes the trajectory of that entire school in
Hmm.
that basketball program.
And
So you see it every single year. You seeing it now. St. Peter's, and plus the way they just hung in there with Kentucky, it
mhm.
felt like it felt like once the ball tipped, St. Peter's was in the game
Yeah.
throughout, and then
Yeah.
Kentucky is going to have to fight and fight and fight. And Ernest said this last week about John Calipari and his and his questionable ways of coaching his teams in the tournament. Only has one national championship in his throughout his career in college. So now you're hearing rumblings about the fan base not happy at all with Calipari. Some of them even want him to be fired. Um,
So it's real
especially
quick. It's funny that you make that statement. Just the comparison just kind of popped up into my head. Coach Cal, he gets a lot of respect as far as the game of basketball as a coach. Would you compare him to, let's say, like just based off his track record, right? somebody who gets a lot of respect but haven't won much. Would you consider him to be like a Doc Rivers of like the college game?
Uh, if you take away that championship,
I mean, like, no, you can keep the championship, but I'm just saying, like, a well-respected coach around the league, right? In this case, college basketball, but really has won the show for it. Who has these great, really, really good teams, but just has nothing, has proved nothing after that one
okay,
championship. You know?
okay, I get it now.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what? I since you put it that way, Amani, I get it. Yeah,
yeah,
because you think about it, it's like how many teams he had that
right.
going to the tournament as number one, number twos, or like the best coming as the
Stack
best team,
teams,
stacked teams,
stack
one
teams.
losses, two losses, and like
Yep.
they get to they get picked off in the second round, Sweet 16, went to the Final Four a couple times, but only
Mm-hmm.
got it done once.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we need to see more. Like,
Yeah.
and plus his press conferences, like I'm not trying to hear his excuses, blah blah blah. They had an 8-point lead with 3 minutes to go in the game,
That
and
sounds
they
somebody
let
very familiar.
St. Peter's come back.
Yeah.
And also when you talk about the NCAA tournament and the NBA draft and how it intertwines,
Mm-hmm.
Ty Washington, he's projected being like in the top 10 or late in the late lottery. So with this performance Thursday, now they're saying now they're rumbling from draft scouting and saying like I wouldn't even look at touching him. You
Sheesh.
know what I'm saying?
See,
So you never know how the tournament how
it can
could
make a
make a
break.
break your
Yep.
draft status and make or break your coaching career.
Mm-hmm.
You got the coach of San Francisco who just lost. Now he's the head coach of Florida,
Yeah.
just like that.
Yep.
So these big universities, these big college basketball programs whose teams have not been made to the tournament in years, you're looking for teams that have the young coaches who taking the major programs to the tournament on a yearly basis, and they want to get back into it. Hey, you got to pick up one of these young coaches to at least resurrect our program.
Yeah.
You know, um, what are your thoughts on Gonzaga?
Yo, they might be they might be dominant, man. They might be the ultimate favorite to come out and win this entire tournament, you know. But sometimes you just really can't get high on a team that's like a number one seed because they asserted their dominance in the first round. But you got to be careful with that, you know, because and this was going to like get into my point what I was going to talk about, just how when it comes to this tournament, right? You have teams that are one seed, two seeds, right? That walk into the tournament like they have it all, like they ish don't stink. You know what I'm saying? And then you have these bottom feeders like St. Peter's, who's a 15 seed, and you have Chattanooga, who's a 15 seed, and almost went the distance with these lower seeds. These teams are playing with nothing to lose, So and plus,
Also,
they come out with this physical mentality, this scrappy mentality. I was watching the game earlier, and these guys were just diving on the floor with Baylor and North Carolina, and like these guys really want it. So just imagine like a lower seed team scrapping, fighting, pushing, shoving, all of this, just to win. That's something that can rattle a first, second seed. So yes, yeah, they're the ultimate favorite, but some of these bottom seeds, man, like these guys play with nothing to lose. So I wouldn't put it past them.
so Gonzaga's next game is against Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm Gonzaga, I'm preparing very well
Mm-hmm.
because this Memphis team they can wreak havoc.
Yeah.
They beat Houston twice. They came back. Remember, Imani Bates. He hasn't his game. He, I'm sorry. His first game was yesterday. I mean, on Thursday. That was his first game since he played back in December, January. They struggled during that time. They were 10-10. There was questions around Penny Hardaway, but that team they rallied around him. Jalen
Yeah.
Duren's a monster. Um, I mean, that team, if you get them on an open court, they're gonna run and gun you up and down the court. They um what they did against Boise State, it was basically they ran them up and down the court, even though it was a close game. This is going to be it's an interesting match against Gonzaga because you know about Gonzaga with Chet Holmgren, Drew Timmy dropped 32.
Yeah.
Holmgren had
Yeah, 7
19 and
blocks.
7, 19, 17,
Yeah,
7
7
blocks, 5
blocks.
assists,
Yeah.
and 2 steals. He
Hmm.
was the stat. It was a stat that said that he was the first NCAA player in tournament history to have a 15-point game, a 15, and 5 game in the NCAA tournament game.
Wow.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how Gonzaga and how they match up against Memphis.
Yeah.
Another team that's another on upset alert, Arkansas. They'll be playing against New Mexico State, which upset
Hmm.
UConn.
Yeah.
Um, Teddy Allen from New Mexico State put on a show. That was another player who had a big game during this week. He dropped 36, 35, and dude was just he was just on his game on fire against UConn. They had a big lead. UConn came back. They was tied it up late, and then New Mexico State held on. Um, Teddy Allen, dude was on fire. That's another team that won like 29 games in their conference. They dominated the conference tournament. So and also they were that was their first tournament win since 1993, even though they've been there a whole lot of times. So it was so this is their first tournament win. So it's going to be interesting to see how them and Arkansas match up. Um, I really like New Mexico State to win that game.
Hmm.
Um, and I can see them getting into the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Once you
So
give a team a lot of confidence, man, like the sky's the limit. So they just ride it, like I said, they riding that wave that they beat a a higher seed in UConn, and they're definitely gonna come to play for Arkansas. Like in my opinion, these seeds don't matter. And when it comes to March Madness, when it comes to college ball, we all seen it. Like
mhm.
the years speak for itself. You know, yeah.
um, Another matchup I'm looking forward to this weekend. Look through the brackets. So we got a Izzo versus Coach K matchup coming tomorrow. Michigan State
Mm,
Duke, and also Michigan State almost got picked off last night by Davidson.
mm-hmm.
Davidson had the lead. Michigan State second half they rallied. Gabe Brown, um, he did his thing. Another one.
Is this the end for Coach K? Is this his?
Uh,
Is this it?
mm, I think they move on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Duke moves on.
Okay.
Unless they get another big game from Hauser, who had 27 last night from Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they get another big game from Hauser and Gabe Brown, Duke might pull it off. But if it's close late, I can see Michigan State pulling it off
Mm.
because you got that Izzo factor. But then again, but then again, you got Coach K and you got the young guys, Paulo Banchero, Trevor Keels. So it's going to be a real interesting matchup. So I like Duke in
It
that game.
it's a lot on the line for this game, man.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a
And
lot
you
on
know
the
what?
line.
And you know what? I think that Duke with that game last night against Fullerton, that was
Hmm.
a tune-up. So because that game last night, they were it was the first half
Yeah.
it was close.
Yeah. Yep. Hmm.
Fullerton was in it, and then Duke
Hmm.
pulled away midway through the
Towards
second
the
half.
end. Hmm.
So we're gonna see now. Okay, now you're gonna have a game against uh, a quality team
Hmm.
that's from the big conference. How are you gonna respond in situations like middle of the game, late in the game,
Right.
when it gets tight? We're gonna see now how Duke with the young guys pull through and they can
Hmm.
pull it out late.
Okay. Another question I was going to ask: what do you think about UCLA? What do you think about their first round game?
UCLA. Let me see.
There was there was in a
Who
dogfight, and
did
then
they play in the first round?
um, Tiger Campbell he came down.
Oh, they play Akron. Okay,
Yes, he
yes.
came down
Okay,
the
okay.
stretch.
That was
He hit a
another
lot of
team.
clutch
So,
buckets. Remember last season he wasn't really taking those shots, man. He
hmm
wasn't. He wasn't. But like he just had I feel like last year other teams, opposing teams, was relying on the other guys to make shots, and it was kind of sagging off. And he had all the
hmm
opportunities in the world to convert and come through. But now he's just like, all right, bet. You know what? I got to take these shots, and he was getting quality looks and just converted. So I feel like towards the end they definitely pulled through. And I remember, yeah, on that episode with Jamal, I had UCLA like get into the Final Four because it's just that that hunger. They lost to a buzzer beater last year. And that's
hmm
demoralizing. Especially when you know that you're a really really good basketball club. So that's why I wanted to ask, like, what was your thoughts about because they was on the ropes. They was on the ropes for a couple, and they just pulled through.
So, so that was another. So, all right. So, let me give you a theme.
Mm.
Thursday was upsets. Bunch of
Yeah,
12, two 12s, or two 11s,
yeah.
and a 15 advance. Last night, you had two 13 teams, had teams on the ropes, lost. You had also, you had, I think there was another team that had, if I remember, oh gosh. But anyway, so you had two 13 seeds, Chattanooga and Akron, who had leads late in the game but lost.
Hmm.
So so far as Akron and UCLA, Akron had the lead. The big man Freeman fouled out
Yep.
middle of the second half. That's when the tide
That.
changed
Yep.
for UCLA
Yep.
because with Freeman from Akron. Oh, by the way, did you see their Akron jerseys? Why they look like Memphis Grizzly jerseys? But they look good.
Right,
But
with the Navy.
with the navy with the striped numbers. I'm like, oh, no, like Grizzly jerseys.
Yeah.
Anyway, but anyway, once Freeman fouled out,
It was a turning point.
it was the turning point of the game
Mm-hmm.
because he was eating up that UCLA's front line,
Yeah.
and for some reason it's like, if the coach would have like given him some more rest and at least put him back in at least with a 7 minute mark to at least have him in the game to finish off, then we could have saw something different. But the big shots by Tiger Campbell from 30 feet from the
Yeah.
logo,
And Johnny,
Johnny
he
Juzang,
was struggling. He was struggling.
him and what's the other dude's name? Uh,
The big.
yes,
Oh man,
they were both struggling.
there
So
was both. Yeah, yeah.
the
Hmm.
Juzang and Tucker Campbell bailed them out, literally bailed them out. So they win by 4, and they got another tough game tomorrow against St. Mary's, who beat up Indiana. So um, I think St. Mary's gets this one, and they
You talking about Cody, right?
yeah, Cody,
Riley. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so this matchup, I really like St. Mary's against UCLA.
Hmm.
There's something about St. Mary's not a lot of people are talking about, even because remember they in the same conference as Gonzaga. They get overshadowed by Gonzaga,
Hmm.
but they're a really really good team. There's a reason why they were seeded 5th in this region. So and plus they beat up on the Indiana team that had no legs again. They had no legs. They flew from Dayton, Ohio. They had to play in the first 4, then fly all the way out to San Diego to play St. Mary's, which is well rested, and they just like ran out of gas.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be an intriguing game. Um, battle West Coast teams. I like St. Mary's to win that game and then play and then go up against North Carolina next week in Philly.
That's gonna be a good one. Hmm.
Hmm. Any other thoughts
No,
about these matchups?
it's just here as a basketball fan, man. Just want to see the excitement. I was sitting there watching the game earlier today, and between Baylor and North Carolina, and my grandmother, she has like down south roots, and so she likes to go with the Tar Heels. So
Hmm.
I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm just like, yo. Like I believe North Carolina was up by like maybe
They
14, well
no,
like
they were up by
six
25.
20 was up
Carolina,
by 25, but when I
yeah,
really started to pay attention and tune in, they was up by like 14 with like 6 minutes left in the game, and usually like that's not a big comfortable league, saying that they came from 25, but she was just like, all right, cool, like, North Carolina's they're gonna win, started parading around the house and stuff like that. But I'm just like, no, like you gotta remember this is March Madness, this is college, like, towards the end of the game, like things
and
happen and
and
things happen, right? Like,
he had that ejection by Brady Manick, who
yeah,
like that ejection was like, okay,
it
that
was
could have been a flagrant one, but
right.
that was not a flagrant two. But
Yeah.
that started it all,
Mm-hmm.
and then Baylor with the remember this is the same team that won it all last year, so they
Mm-hmm.
was not going to down they was not going to go down without the fight.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they was
So
definitely on the ropes, but
they
found a
had
way.
Carolina on the
Yeah.
ropes, like on the ropes.
Yeah, found a way to pull through, tie it, send it to OT, but they just ran out of gas in overtime. So North Carolina definitely got the better of them. But yeah, I mean that's just the madness of it all, man. That's March Madness.
And mind you, in that region, so the number one seed and the number two seed are knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Crazy.
and you got the three seed Purdue, four seed UCLA, five seed St. Mary's, and six seed Texas, and seven seed Murray State.
Mm-hmm.
Eight seed North Carolina advances, and the lowest seed remaining is St. Peter's at number 15. Because it happens every year. You get one region where it's gonna be a crooked number advancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hey, just all I gotta say is stay tuned. Stay
Right.
tuned.
I'm
Like
I'm trying to think, was there ever a year where somebody had like, because yesterday I found out that nobody had any more perfect brackets. Like there was no more. Going into yesterday, there was two left, but at the end of
mhm.
yesterday, there was none. So I'm trying to think, was there a time where how many rounds did we get into with somebody still said, "Yo, I still got a perfect bracket"? I can't remember. I really can't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Hmm.
because like you're not gonna get any perfect bracket. If you'd be lucky to get at least
Lucky.
lucky to get at least like three regions correct
Yeah.
because every year you're gonna have at least a couple of double digit seeds advance to at least the regionals, the
Hmm.
Sweet 16 or even the Elite Eight. We've seen that like how many times you've seen an 11 seed team go to the Final Four? A lot of
Right.
times since like
Right.
20 recently. So it's like, and now with the whole transfer portal, you're gonna get more of that. I believe in the future.
Hmm.
So it is what it is. So just gonna keep the train running. Um, so this weekend is the second round. We're gonna go from 32 down to 16. Coming up next weekend, that's the regional semis, the regional final, then the final four in New Orleans, April 2nd and April 4th. So keep it locked on the Swooshes podcast. We'll definitely be recapping these games. So just stay tuned and we'll get you from there. So from there, we're gonna segue to this the GOAT discussion.
Oh man, this is
The GOAT discussion.
like a war room.
It, it's been a war room about this whole GOAT discussion for the last how many years?
Yeah, it's for, I mean, for just like for time, especially from my generation, like the early 2000s, because you've seen a lot of players come about, right? Like just think of it this way: Kobe Bryant was the best player in the league in 2001 at the age of 22. Like that's crazy, Now in the 2010s, LeBron asserted his dominance. KD had his thing. Curry's doing his thing. James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, all these different players, But also some of these players that's playing now, they give you appreciation for the old players. So I feel like this whole GOAT discussion, these lists that everybody's coming out with left and right, this all stemmed from the top, from the NBA 75 list. Ever since Dwight wasn't put on the list and Dame was and AD was and Klay Thompson wasn't and all these other players missed the list. Like there's not a day go by where I see this person should have been, top 10, and this person not a top 10. And then a couple weeks ago, they came out with a list on ESPN where Kobe was not in the top 10 of basketball players of all time, and it was just like, wait, what? Like,
which makes no sense. Which
yeah,
gives us the credibility that ESPN yeah, we
yeah,
open ESPN, and so it's like,
yeah,
okay, and
yeah,
it's like every time it's like, oh, you compare LeBron to MJ, LeBron. Like, how you go from MJ to LeBron, and then like, where is Kobe Bryant?
right,
Mind,
yeah,
'cause mind you, he was the bridge from MJ to LeBron.
right.
Like y'all really gonna overskip what Kobe Bryant did for those 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, thing is,
Like,
from ESPN, they like narrative. So when I think of it this way, right? Kobe Bryant came out of high school, had media attention, but nothing compared to Mike and nothing compared to Braun coming out of wherever they came from, like respective, like high school, college. Um, so
St. Mary,
just
St. Vincent.
right, just the ride that wave of like, yo, this is a once in a lifetime, just a generational talent. He's a chosen one. He's King James and stuff like that. He
Sports Illustrated put that name on him.
Yeah, and then had 7 years in Cleveland before he went to Miami, won two championships in Miami, came back and won a championship for his city in a crazy game 7-3-1 comeback. So it's all narrative based. But me as a Kobe fan, it just don't sit well with me because like it's like, bro, like we really about to skip this, and they're known for doing it. It's just something that you just got to be like, all right, bet, whatever.
Mhm.
But real basketball heads know, put it like that. And like you said, we all know what ESPN is about.
It's just not ESPN. It's like also national media coverage. It's like Fox Sports. You have these debates like, oh, LeBron, MJ, LeBron, this and like, okay, so are y'all going to discuss any other players that were great
Mhm,
in their heyday during their
mhm.
prime, like a Magic or like a Kareem
Yeah,
or like a Kobe or even a Tim Duncan to
I
a
feel like
respect?
Kareem and Kareem and Magic don't get enough props.
That's my thinking, because it's like, oh, you're part of Showtime Lakers. You
Yeah,
had Jerry Buss, you had Pat Riley, this that, but there's a reason why they won 5 titles in the '80s. Like, come on
yeah,
now, so they were
yeah,
dominant.
hmm
Okay, and even to a lesser extent, Larry Bird,
yeah,
like they won't even put him in the conversation, and like, okay, you're not even gonna put them in the conversation, but you're gonna put LeBron and MJ together.
yeah,
Okay, you might want to go back and watch those games with him, with Magic and Bird, because those were legit battles in the
hmm
finals.
hmm
Like, don't like that the whole 30 for 30 episode, the whole trilogy when they did it
Oh
about
yeah,
the
yeah,
Lakers and the
yeah,
Celtics. It
yeah,
described the whole rivalry in the perfect form of the '80s.
yeah,
So, and also with the and also I think, remember when ESPN came out with the 30 for 30 documentary, the Last Dance,
yeah,
during the whole pandemic, it provided people with another avenue to go back and see what MJ really did, and not in this mythical aspect, but give you real actual footage and facts of how of what Michael did,
hmm
and now the perception of what Michael is, from the player standpoint to a generational standpoint of, oh, I know he did that. Oh, what word he did this, because you
I,
had like a whole 15 to 20 year people, have a generation who 15, 20 years old who don't who have seen Michael Jordan play.
yeah,
So
yeah,
now they got that. And it's like, oh, okay, I see why you comparing LeBron to that's this guy. Like, probably evens it out.
yeah, yeah.
What's
Yeah,
your
I
thought?
mean, as far as as far as I'm concerned, just watching that, I don't know about other people, but to your point, watching the Last Dance documentary, it didn't change my opinion on how I felt about Jordan. I always stuck to my guns, and it always, especially when I was in high school, it kind of frustrated me when, you know, like I had people telling me that Jordan's the GOAT, and I'm like, bro, we the same age. Like
Exactly.
how are you telling me this? Like,
Like I
like
seen him.
right, like my dad, he could speak on that. You know what I'm saying? Like he watched MJ. My uncle, he's a big basketball head. He could speak on that. He's seen Mike play, right? But me, my introduction to Michael Jordan was the Washington Wizards when he was
Mm,
running up and down with Kwame Brown and Rip Rip Hamilton. Like that's that's the Michael Jordan I know, but obviously, right, you have books and stuff, you have magazines, you got video games, you got even hardware classics that they show on NBA TV when it's a slow day at the office to constantly remind you of how great he was. You have documentaries like The Last Dance that
hmm
constantly reminds you how great he was. But for me, like that was I like I said, I stuck to my guns. I'm like, yo, these are my top five players because of X, Y, and Z. I watched them from the early 2000s until the point that they retired. And this is why I can say that Mike is not my GOAT, because I feel like in order to say somebody he's a GOAT, you got to watch them play. You have to watch them. You have to watch them, And like I said, I know that there's film and all that other stuff out there, but to be in that moment, to feel that energy, like it's kind of different. So like, let's just say this, right? Social media is a very big thing now. You got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all these different places. This is one Twitter account I follow. I can't remember the name of it, but they usually do like let's like so. For example, LeBron dropped excuse me, Reggie Miller, his game against the Knicks. Where he gave the choke, the um the choke taunt to Spike Lee. Like
Yeah,
what?
he stopped 25 in the fourth quarter of a playoff
Right.
game.
Yeah. What would Twitter look like when he did that? You see what
Oh,
I'm
so
saying? Yeah.
it, listen. If that would have happened during Twitter, Nick's Twitter would have shut down.
Right.
It would have been it would have been ugly.
Right. So that's
It would
my
have been real
point.
ugly.
It's a different energy when you're seeing
Hmm
this in the moment. When you're watching Kobe drop 81 and you're watching that game, you're just like what am I watching right now? But you're watching
hmm
history right now. Kobe dropping 60. It's like, yo, like
In
this man
three
really dropped
quarters.
it right. Right. You're watching the 3-1 comeback from LeBron. You're just like, wow, like I'm really watching this right now. It's a different energy. I know numbers don't lie, stats don't lie, but just to be in the moment when these guys are performing in their prime is just something you can't deny.
Hmm
So
Definitely. So yeah,
yeah, the whole goal talk is and it
it's
also
more
comes it,
subjective.
it's some very subjectives, that's just a conversation that's just never going to end. It's
Mm-mm.
all about different decades as well too. Like you had Magic. Hold on, Ernest is texting. He said, oh,
Yeah,
MJ
he's just
losing the
MJ getting washed in the first
right,
round is like,
right, right.
especially in the 80s, it's like if Twitter would have happened during then, it's like, oh, like you sure MJ is MJ that guy? Is MJ will be that guy who can take his team to the championship? Is he
Right.
that guy? So it's
Yeah,
like,
and imagine ESPN every single day. Is
oh,
MJ that guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, like, imagine them exposing Kobe for his 4 air balls and
hmm
stuff like that.
oh yeah, that
Right?
playoff game.
Yeah. Imagine them coming after AI. Being a really really great talent, but just can't get it done. He's a pound for pound player. MVP single handedly took his team to the finals. Like those
With no
moments
one on their roster except for
with no
Mutombo.
one in that roster, right? Except for Matumbo, just being in that energy when it's happening, it's like you can't help but to appreciate it. And especially when those moments go and here now where we're in 2022, it's just like wow, like I really watched it. I was really a part of that. And I'm able to say like, this player is my GOAT for X, Y, and Z or, so yeah, man. But yeah, like I was saying, it's a whole decade thing. Excuse me, not decade. It's like a whole generational thing, right? So
Right.
Magic and Kareem and
Like
and
imagine
Bird.
if like imagine you had Twitter during the whole Celtics Lakers in the 80s.
Oh my God, man,
Like just
yo,
think about it. Lakers Twitter would be like Lakers Twitter and Celtics Twitter be going at it on a
and
nightly
and
basis
and and
during the finals.
and the thing is, what I found funny is that like now it's kind of like normalized, because the rivalry is still there, but it's nothing to how it was in the 80s. I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I'm watching the game, you see like, especially when the Lakers are on a East Coast road trip or the Grammy road trip, you see
Mm-hmm.
like Laker fans at Boston Celtics games, and there's no riots. Everybody's watching the game. Everybody's being peaceful. In the 80s,
Right.
you couldn't do something like that. You wouldn't dare
Mm-mm.
do something like that. So yeah, I mean it's all generational things. Like I said, Larry, Magic, Bird dominated the 80s. Yeah, Mike dominated the 90s. You had the emergence of a Hakeem Olajuwon, in the middle of the 90s. You had Shaq in the 90s, early 2000s. You had Iverson, you had Duncan, you had Kobe, you had Shaq, mid
You got
2000s,
Reggie
you had
Miller in the
had
90s.
right, Reggie Miller in the
Yeah.
90s. So like all of these is very subjective, man. It's very subjective of who's the GOAT. That's a question that's just never going to be answered. But on the outside looking in, as a casual basketball fan, right? You'll
Mm-hmm.
go up to somebody on the street. Who's the best? Who's the great? Who's the GOAT? It's greatest face of all time. They're gonna tell you. Most times they're gonna tell you Mike. They're gonna tell you Mike.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Depending
because
on the
that's
age, though.
yeah, depend on the age, but that's just the narrative that's been implanted, in everybody's head, especially with all of these things going around. Jordan, you see Jordan everywhere. Jordan constantly reminds you that he's the greatest of all time.
Like he
And,
has
and
to
it,
tell you,
and
he
it,
has to remind
right,
you. It's
he
like,
has to remind you. And his sneakers, you look at the tag, it says inspired by the greatest player of all time.
mm-hmm.
He's telling you that he's the
even
good,
even had
right?
college basketball teams wearing the Jordan
When
logos.
the Jordan logo, like even in the NBA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan owns the Charlotte Hornets, but other teams, even the Detroit Pistons, which is crazy,
And the
they're
Knicks have they have the Jordan logos
they
on
got the
this.
Jordan logo on their jersey. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. That's crazy. But also, I think another thing that we can take into consideration when talking about the greatest of all time for the game of basketball is what they do for the game. So like, all right, cool. The on-court stuff, that's cool, but how
What
they
they do
build
off the court, how they
how how
conduct
they
themselves off the
right,
court.
how they build bridges, like
Mm-hmm.
how we got international basketball, and we have a lot of international players in the league is doing really, really good things. So it's many different aspects that's taking effect on who's the ultimate greatest of all time.
Yeah, most definitely. So it's more of like you said, it's more subjective, it's more opinionated now, especially than ever before. It's even more critique even now because we have so many people on podcasts and on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, like speaking their mind about who's the greatest of all time.
Hmm.
You pull up stats, you pull up advanced stats, and
Hmm.
it's just like see and just like calculate and just get to like formulate your own opinion based on stats and video and just like the overall talent and the you know um, overall mechanism of the player.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be more of that in the coming years. And also you think about it, the whole next generation is gonna be born in it was gonna ask, oh, who's the greatest basketball player of all time? Someone gonna say LeBron,
Yeah.
who hasn't seen LeBron play before.
Yeah.
So you also got that to get into consideration. Also the MJs, the factors. So you're gonna have like a long list.
Yeah.
The list is gonna be coming. The list is gonna be becoming greater, greater and greater.
Hmm.
And then you can pick from a variety of. Excuse me. Pick a variety of, okay, who's this player? Who's this player? Who's this player? Let me see his game. Let me see his game. Let me see his game. And now it's like you really can't say who's the greatest of all time because
Hmm.
it's now you got more options to say who is just based on now you can get at least access to like to see who's how he played, the games he played, how he performed, this and that, his best games, how he played in the playoffs, how he played in the finals, whatnot. So
Hmm.
the GOAT conversation is gonna be less more of a of a of a topic because there's gonna be more players that quote unquote will fit into that criteria,
Yeah.
which only be a select few,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go from the GOAT, and then we're gonna segue from that into top 15 NBA lists.
Jeez. Here we go.
So we came across this Twitter account. Um, I'm not gonna say his name, but
Nah, say his name, man. Nah, 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 nah.
you want me to do
You,
it? Want me to do it?
yeah, his name is Nick
Nick
Adams.
Adams. Yeah, Nick
Nick Adams.
Adams.
You post some craziness on social media. You
Yeah, he
know,
does. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like all right.
you post that. You better be able to back it up. You know, like it's
Do you
Twitter. Is
do
I
you want me
understand
to
it.
give him the? Do you want me to announce the list?
Yeah, go ahead. Read the list. Yeah, read
Okay.
this crazy list.
All right. So Nick Adams on Twitter posted back on November 21st at 11:50 p.m. saying his top 15 NBA players of all time. So that's his top 15 NBA players of all time. Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kareem, Bill Russell, Jerry West, Dirk Nowitzki, Wilt Chamberlain, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Rick Barry, Oscar Robertson, Julius Erving, John Havlicek, John Stockton, Steve Nash.
Yo, and so when I was looking at this list, right, I just got out of a meeting at work, just happened to check my phone. I'm looking at the list, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Like by the time you get to like the fifth name on the list, you're just like, yo, even though it's not ranked, I'll say this: that list that Eric just named, it wasn't ranked, it wasn't in order, but it's
Mm-mm.
just like, bro, we missing two key names, you know,
Where's Magic and where's Kobe?
right? So
Like
it's like,
seriously,
bro, and also, wait a minute, hold
why is
on,
Steve Nash? And first of all, why is Steve Nash and John
right?
Stockton on the list?
Exactly. And matter of fact, you
I
mentioned
mean,
Magic,
they're good players. They're good players. Hall of Fame, yes, but not no all time. I'm sorry, no.
so you said, so my bad. I said two. You named two. You named Kobe and Magic. We missing three.
Where's
LeBron. Like,
even LeBron, even Tiny Multiples? I'm like, come on now.
yeah, come on now, man. You know, but hey, it's you. I hate to give him the benefit of doubt to say that it's his opinion, but you can clearly see where the list goes left with the whole Steve Nash and John Stockton thing. And to miss like key players who's like a no-brainer when it comes to a top 15 list is just, it's just mind-blowing, man.
Like, I get it. I get it from his perspective, but it's like, come on, man. Like, you're gonna like really, really, you're gonna really do that? You're gonna put that list out there, and you're not gonna like, get any, replies out of this. It's like you trying
Mm,
to get likes out of this for what? Because you like once you put Steve Nash on there without Kobe Bryant, that alone is like a red flag for
right,
me. It's like,
right.
and plus the fact that Steve Nash stole a couple of Kobe Bryant's MVPs,
Hmm.
like you might want to talk about that.
Right. And
Um,
I'm pretty sure, while he was picking Steve Nash, like as you just mentioned that he stole two MVPs, like Kobe's name popped up into your head.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
come on. And since you're ranking it based off MVPs, right? LeBron has four of them. So that should have popped up into your head as well, too. You know? Just saying.
Yeah, I know. Just got to update. Kansas holds on and beats Creighton 79-72, and they'll advance to the
It was
Sweet
a
16.
close game. It
Well,
was a
close
close
one.
game.
Close one. Creighton,
Yeah.
Creighton fall back to the end, but Kansas held
Hmm.
on.
Yeah.
So getting back to this list, okay, I get Larry Bird, I get Mike, Kareem, obviously, Russell, obviously, Jerry West, even though he won one title, obviously, Dirk. I don't know about all time, but okay. Well, obvious, Tim Duncan, obvious, Shaq with no Kobe, kind of weird. Okay,
That's
whatever.
crazy. That's
Like,
crazy.
okay, so we talk about Steve Nash. Like, we talk about Steve Nash. We don't put Kobe Bryant in there. You put Shaq, but no Kobe. What are you doing? What are you
Right.
doing?
Right.
All right, so we got Rick Barry and Oscar Robertson, obviously. Um, Julius Erving, no question, and John Havlicek, no question. Um, I would have had Nate Tiny Archibald on that list,
Mm.
but that's just me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's like yeah. Oh, and also like if you're gonna put Kareem and Larry Bird, where's Magic?
Hmm.
Like,
And
explain. Like, you're gonna put Larry Bird and Kareem on this list. Where is Magic on this list?
Larry Bird's career is legit. Let me try to get my words together before somebody takes it the wrong way. You know what? I'm
Hmm.
gonna just come out and say it. It's parallel. You know,
Exactly. You think about it.
it's legit
19,
parallel. I'm not saying that.
1979,
Right. Exact.
1979,
It,
the
it
championship game
right.
between
It all
Michigan
stemmed.
State and Indiana State.
Right. And
They were
then that
then
rivalry trickled
Lakers
into the
Celtics.
NBA. Exactly.
Yep.
Their careers go hand in hand.
And don't think
You
about
don't
it
mention Larry without Magic. You don't mention Magic
exactly.
without Larry.
Think about it. Their career started. Their careers kind of started with that game in
Hmm.
'79. Their careers ended like around the same time. '91 Magic had
Hmm.
a little brief stint.
Hmm.
Came back a little bit for like 1 year.
Yeah.
'96 Bird he finished in 1992. So it's almost like they ended the careers at the same time.
Yeah.
But
And
still, they're still around. They're
right.
still around heavy.
Right.
Bird, he's like doing stuff with Pacers and of course Magic with Lakers. Like, oh gosh, he still
When
has a voice with the Laker organization. Okay,
when you said that, the
there's a reason
image,
there's a reason I signed that 25-year, $25 million contract. Okay, it's not
yeah,
just playing basketball. Right?
right. The when you mentioned Magic and the Lakers, the image popped up into my head is when he asked Magic if he was gonna be there next season. He was like,
I ain't gonna be there next
I
year.
ain't gonna be there next year. But yeah, man,
Ah.
their careers go parallel with each other. You know, legit go
Mhm.
hand in hand, and you know, they Magic and Bird was the resurgence that the NBA needed because the NBA was struggling.
Oh yeah.
They was struggling, you know, and then just so happened that they segue at the perfect time for
Hmm.
Michael to go ahead and expand the game, especially overseas with the Dream Team and everything. But
Hmm.
NBA ratings and just viewership was gonna plummet if it wasn't for those two.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So you got to take that into account. Like, come on now, come on now.
And the top and think about it. It was on tape delay during the '80s in
Mm,
the
mm-hmm.
finals.
Yeah.
The NBA finals was on tape delay in the '80s.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad the NBA was back in the '80s.
Yeah.
In the '70s, the NBA finals was on tape delay,
Yeah.
which means you play the actual game and then they don't show until later on that night. So once Magic and Bird got on the scene, well, yeah, once Magic and Bird got on the scene, and then they started going at each other. The Lakers and Celtics, two historic rivals, going back to the '60s, and the '70s. And now you got the new generation of with that core in the '80s. Now, and also with the new commissioner David Stern, that was when the NBA started like really get hold of it and start really taking off.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and then you had the Bad Boy Pistons. because it was going to be Bird, Magic, and then Jordan, and
Yep.
then the Detroit Pistons, but Isaiah Thomas and crew, they won those 2 titles out of those 3, and then MJ and the Bulls came in like really just put the NBA on notice in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So
So
yeah,
okay. So let's do this,
hmm
right? Because we was going to get into it eventually. Who is your top 15, Eric?
my top 15. Okay,
No order.
I know. Okay, let me just. All right, so I would see that's Bird and Magic, 1 and 2. Kobe, Shaq, 3, 4. Um, LeBron at 5. Number 6, I'm putting Tim Duncan. Number 7, I got Kareem. 8, Wilt. Julius at 9, Irving. I'm putting Isaiah Thomas up there in the top 10.
Mm.
And then I'm going Tiny at 11, Jerry West at 12, 13, Kevin McHale. I'm going
Mm.
14, Walt Frazier, 15, Ewing.
Okay. Got some of that Knicks love for Pat Ewing.
Obviously, like come on now.
All right.
I have Walt. I have Clive Frazier in there too.
Uh-huh. Okay. For me, no order. I have obviously, if you know me, you already know who's there, Mister God rest his soul, Kobe B. Bryant. Um, the Laker fan in me, also Shaquille O'Neal. Um, Mike, no brainer. I know what I just talked about the whole GOAT thing, but like, stats don't lie, videos don't lie. LeBron, of course. Um, Magic and Bird, they go hand in hand. Their careers are legit parallel with each other.
Hmm
Tim Duncan, who was a complete headache to watch, especially in the early 2000s when my Lakers kept running up against the Spurs. Legit headache, man. Somebody who played the game the right way, and I feel like doesn't get talked about a lot because
Oh yeah,
he's just
definitely.
he's not flashy. He's not flashy, but
He's not.
he's always in everybody's top 10. He's always is, and if he's not, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Hmm
Let's see. I had Kobe, Shaq, Mike, Braun, Larry. That's 7, right? Kobe, Shaq, Mike, Braun, Larry, Magic, Duncan. That's 7.
It's 7.
Um, that's 7. Sheesh. Okay, here's it's kind of tough. Um, Wilt, I'll excuse me. I'll put Wilt up there. Will Chamberlain up there. Um, Another person who has a really, really great skill set, but I feel like he's another player that doesn't get talked about as much too, just because his reign of dominance got overshadowed in the 90s. And I'm talking about Hakeem Olajuwon. When you think of the 90s and who
Ooh,
dominated
right.
the 90s,
Hmm
when you think of the 90s, who dominated the 90s, obviously Michael Jordan and the Bulls, they come to mind. But when Mike
hmm
went away and went to go play
Houston
baseball,
Rockets.
right, the
It's the
Houston
Houston
Rockets,
Rockets.
but also now here comes the conversation that what if Mike didn't retire, right? Would
Hmm
Hakeem still have those 2 championships? Debatable, right? Debatable. Sheesh, Mike could have went what 8-0,
8 straight. 8 straight.
right? He could have went 8 straight, but I just think Hakeem Olajuwon's skill set for a big is actually really, really crazy. The man's averaged 2 steals, you know, as a big, right? So when you think of
Hmm
a big is known for, give you some points. He had a great mid range game. He could block shots, one of the best shot blocks of all time. Great rebounder as well too. But the man was able to get 2 steals from
Hmm.
so that goes to show like his agility, his movement on the court. He has really, really, really quick feet. So he could keep up with slow bigs and able to take the ball from them. So that says a
hmm
lot for a guy in his position. Um, that was 8, right? Let's
That was 8.
see. That was 8. Number 9. I'll go with the big O, Oscar Robinson. Just the whole. I remember the whole triple double narrative. I'm gonna just say this: before Russ, right, really made it cool, to, the average triple doubles on a nightly basis, and before I feel like back then getting a triple double was just like, yo, he had a triple double. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's out of this world, right? Now it's kind of like, oh yeah, he had a triple double, like it's like it's regular now, right? But with the big O, he put up a record that hasn't been broken in X amount of years. I'm not sure the facts about how many years, but to have a record to cement your name in NBA history for a long period of time, that says a
Mm-hmm.
lot, man. And he was a big guard too. You would think somebody like Magic Johnson will hold a record like that, but no, it was the big O, and he held it for a long period of time. So you got to give praise to the big O. That was 10. Number 11, sheesh. Number 11. Hmm. This was kind of tough, but I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with. Hmm. Oh my gosh, man. I'm struggling over here. I'm struggling, man, because this guy I wanted to say like one of the best two guards of all time, but the thing is that the accolades he wasn't able to get. I was gonna mention Dwayne Wade, but
Mm.
just the accolades don't put him over the rest, right? No MVPs. I remember he has a scoring title. Won a championship in a great fashion back in 2006, but the other two rings, when you look at that team, you look at LeBron. LeBron is option A and D Wade is option B. You know, um, uh, but if I had to give number 12, and I really hate to do it because you know he constantly pisses me off time in and time out, but I gotta go with Steph. I gotta go with Steph Curry. Legit changed the game of basketball. It kills me to say that, but changed the game of
Mm.
basketball. Everybody's out here shooting threes now. People legit practice that. Matter of fact, I was watching. I can't remember what college game I was watching the other night, but it was a fast break, and one of the players pulled up for a three, and I forget who I was watching the game with, but he yelled out, "You really pulling up for threes on a fast break?" And I was just like, Steph Curry. It's Steph Curry's fault. But two-time MVP, unanimous MVP, which I still find that's kind of crazy when you think of all the players who won MVP and who's been
Mm-hmm.
dominant over the past couple of years. But he changed the game of basketball, man. Like the way the game basketball is played now is because of that man. So that's that's insane. That's really really insane, and just he can legit go off any night, shoot the ball from crazy amount of distance. I know the Finals MVP, and is he able to show up in big moments down the stretch? I know that hinders him, but like the man changed the game of basketball and how it's played now. For the past couple of years. So, Steph Curry coming in at number 12, number
13.
number 13. Oh, how can I forget Bill Russell? Oh man, Bill
Mm-hmm.
Russell. Hey, so just like we spoke about Magic and Bird,
Mm-hmm.
Wilt and Bill careers was legit parallel as well too. They had a really really great rivalry. I believe in the
Yeah, the
60s.
60s.
In the 60s, Wilt has 11 of them things. Like he got a bunch of rings. He got to put another ring on. He got to put two rings on one finger. But
Exactly.
Bill Russell, 6'9", big. Excuse me. Um, I mean, you can also look at the competition of who was he playing with around that time, and like just how many teams was. So, it's all a generation thing. The leagues expand and competition. I look at that, but like Bill Russell was
Mm-hmm.
6'9" and just a defensive anchor, one of the defensive players of all time. So, and especially what he did for the game with the whole civil rights movement as well too. You got to give that to Bill Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that is what 13, 14. Sheesh. Um, hmm. 14, 14, 14. it's getting kind of tricky now. Um, let's see. 14. Um, I go with I'll go Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, um, man is responsible for the career. Well, partially
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the early career of Mike. So you got to give that to him. Um, was I wouldn't really say the foundation, but played the game with a lot of heart. Um, Especially rolling with those bad boy Pistons, but played the game with a lot of heart. I watched, tape of this guy playing on a really, really bad ankle and still put up
In the
numbers, man,
finals,
in the finals.
in
And
the game
still,
6, it had a chance to win that
right,
series.
and still gave the Lakers business. So you can't deny that. Two-time champ,
Should have
one of
won
the
3 in a row.
yeah, one of the best defensive players from the guard position, point guard position, really, really quick on his feet, Isaiah Thomas. And last but not and number 15. Oh man, 15. Um uh Dr. J. I'll go with Dr. J. Um just creating the bridge between the ABA and the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Um you got to give it to Dr. J. Some people say he was the Michael Jordan before the Michael Jordan. He was like the poster boy
Mm-hmm.
of the game of basketball. Everybody wanted to be like Dr. J. And even when you hear like my favorite players, right? Like I remember there was an interview I remember watching or like a quote of LeBron, and I remember LeBron was saying that when he was growing up, like he didn't want to be like Mike, he wanted to be like Dr. J.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely said a lot. That a lot of guys in this league and a lot of guys who played like in the early 2000s who had that kind of same high flyer dynamic play style. Guys like Kobe, LeBron, T Mac, Vince Carter. They kind of model their game off the Dr. J. So yeah, man, that rounds out my top 15. Um, if you guys are watching this, feel free to debate. We talk hoops. You know what I'm saying? You might disagree, but that's our opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be disagreements because
Yeah, of course.
it's
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, you let this player out, leave that player out, this and that. Like, listen,
Hmm.
it is what it is. It's subjective. You
Hmm.
got your own list. If you got your own list, put it in the chat, you
Yeah.
know, and just yeah, just put it out there. See
Hmm.
how our list compares to the same or different.
Hmm.
Just got another game that's just gotten underway. Michigan and Tennessee for the nightcap. So we're gonna keep an eye on there. Um, any news you want to discuss before we finish up for today?
Yeah. So I thought about this the other day because I remember our last episode we spoke about women's basketball and the greatest basketball players of all time, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe that this completely slipped my mind. But Lucia Harris, I felt like her name just got put in the limelight.
Mm,
I will say this: I haven't known her for a long time and her story for the longest time, but
mm-hmm.
she passed away earlier this year, and I remember hearing her name a while ago that she was the first lady
Right.
to
Player
get
from
drafted
drafted in the NBA.
in the NBA by the Utah Jazz, and that's when the NBA had like a bunch of rounds, right? Like they had
Mm-hmm.
the same amount of rounds as like the NFL does. But if she got drafted by the NBA, that says a lot. But also, then again, we were mentioned Cheryl Miller as well too. So like in the playing college ball, right? There was no place for you to go to play as a professional, you know. Um, so you also got to take that into consideration as well too. But Lucia Harris, she did get drafted by the NBA, but she turned it down because she wanted to focus on her family.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that I missed that I wanted to just bring up her name um, in the discussion of like best, women's basketball players of all time.
Okay. Yeah, especially since it's Women's History Month, we remiss
Mm-hmm.
about that. Also, the women's NCAA tournament started yesterday. It's going on right now, as well. So we're gonna definitely keep an eye on that. South Carolina dominated their game yesterday. At one point yesterday, it was like 44-4 South Carolina. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yep, there you go, dominating. Also, there have been really good games as far throughout today and yesterday. So definitely going to keep an eye on that, and also going to keep an eye on what's happening in the world of basketball because it's after the whole NCAA tournament, the Final Fours with both men's and women's. The NBA season is winding down, man. We
Mm-hmm.
only got
We got like 10 games
like
left.
10 games left.
Yeah,
Some
10,
some
12 games
teams
left.
some teams got 12 games, 11 games, 10
Yep.
games,
We're
14
30
games.
and
So
40. We're 30 and 40.
both of us are 30 and 40.
Kills us, man.
So we're coming down to the home stretch of the season. The season ends Sunday, April. Let me see.
And everybody's dropping 50 left and right. Like, was
56,
got it?
60
Yeah.
points. Kyrie has a 60-point game earlier this week. Carl Anthony Towns dropped 56. No, he
Game
dropped 60. He
sliders.
dropped
You got up
60.
60.
He dropped 60.
He had
A lot of players.
30,
He had
36 in one
32.
quarter,
He
so
had
something like
30.
that.
He had 32 in the third quarter against the Spurs.
Spurs, man.
So
Crazy. And also, shout out to Greg Pop.
yeah,
Um,
just became the all-time winningest coach in NBA history.
So shout out to Pop, legendary career, 5-time champ.
Hmm.
Gets no better than Pop, man. Gets no better. He's the ideal, the example of what a coach should be.
Even if your team is contending or rebuilding,
Yep,
that should
that's
be
the
the
motto.
epitome. That's the motto of the
That's the
coach.
motto. Yep, agreed.
So with 3 weeks from tomorrow, 3 weeks from Sunday is the last Sunday of the regular season, April 10th.
Hmm.
So okay, so I'm gonna go and look at the current standings in the playing tournament in the Western Conference. Since the Lakers are 30 and 40, and they're still hanging on to ninth in the West,
I don't know how, man.
I'm still trying to figure out how y'all still in it after losing left and right.
I don't know
So
how, man.
okay, so let me just bring up the standings right quick. So we're gonna do a little review of what's gonna happen the next couple of weeks, and then we're gonna finish it off. All right, so uh, uh,
The
so
Heat still
in
sit
the
at the top of the conference, which is I still find kind of crazy.
all right, so since the last episode, the Phoenix Suns clinch a playoff berth
Hmm.
at 57 wins. The Miami Heat clinch a playoff berth. They have 47 wins. Um, the Lakers right now at 30 and 40, sitting ninth in the West, a game ahead of New Orleans, and 3.5 up on the
Spurs.
Spurs for 11th. Okay, so at least you got some wiggle room to at least finish in the playing tournament race. But now, but all right, so then you're in the middle of a East Coast road trip. You got you lost to the Timberwolves by 20 again, and then on that game, like Russ, the whole team was getting punked by the Timberwolves. Oh, speaking of
And
which, T-Wolves Bucks play today are playing right now, and they had a little skirmish today.
yeah.
They had two ejections and two technicals and three ejections in today's T-Wolves Bucks game. So that goes to show you how Pat Bevel just changed the whole dynamic of the Timberwolves. Sad, man. Y'all,
Yo,
they
but,
like how y'all get punked by like what?
uh, and he said something on Twitter.
And then Carl Anthony Towns calls out Stephen A. Smith saying, "Oh, like okay, if you're gonna tell us narratives about this and that, but you don't tell us about this." Oh,
Mhm.
just like yeah. So
Hey,
I think
man,
it's good for the Timberwolves because they need that.
they
Like
need that.
they need that
Yeah,
because
they
like
they need that.
they haven't been relevant since Sybil was there when they made the playoffs that one time, and then never been done haven't done
But
anything since
but still,
PG
even
left.
Right, exactly. Even still then, and what was it, 2018? You wasn't checking for the Timberwolves. You know, like
No,
Jimmy Butler. Remember, there was something that came out where Jimmy Butler had to get two like bench players to
yeah,
beat the
two biscuits
starters. Yeah,
in practice. In
in
practice,
practice, man. So you wasn't checking for no Wolves. Like the last time the T Wolves been relevant, as far as I'm concerned, like you said, when
KG,
KG
KG.
was the MVP.
Yeah.
That was it. Yep.
So all right. So Lakers are on a
Excuse me.
4-game East Coast trip. They're 1-1 so far. They lost to the Timberwolves. They barely beat the Raptors, which I'm like I watched last night. I'm like, oh, Russell Westbrook.
He needed that,
Oh,
man. He
he
needed
needed
that.
that.
He needed that confidence booster, man. You know,
Mm,
there's been a lot of clips that's been coming out online where people is either really, really close to Russ or people meeting Russ and calling him
hmm
Westbrook. And when Russ gets to them, he's like, "Oh, I called you Westbrook," and it's
Like, just
like
leave the man alone, man.
leave the man alone. And
Leave him
that's what I was saying.
alone.
Like
Like, come on.
I legit feel bad for the man because it's like and somebody was telling me that it was old age. I'm like, nah, it's not old age, man. Like the man is trying, but when you just don't have it,
He
and
just don't have it.
he don't have it, and
He
it's
needs to
not old
stop.
age. It's not
Like,
old age, man.
he needs to stop taking those shots. Like, seriously, like, go to the rim.
Yeah,
Go to the rim,
yeah,
please. That should be a game from now on.
right,
Post up, go to the rim, and make your free throws, make layups.
yeah.
That's it.
That's
All right.
it, man.
So, the 4-game was East Coast trip. They're 1-1 so far. They got the Wizards tonight, if I believe.
Uh,
Um, Tonight.
yeah, I believe so.
Is it
Um,
tonight?
Let me check. Hold on.
I think it's
Uh,
tonight. Yeah, I think it's tonight, and then
yeah, the
Monday.
Wizards tonight, and then we got the
Okay, the
Cavs, and then we got the Sixers.
Cavaliers, and then they got Cleveland Monday in Cleveland. Oof, it's a tough game, but no Jared Allen. And then they come home, Sixers, and then next Sunday at Pelicans. That's gonna be a big game. And then at Dallas, at Utah, road trip, and then home for the Pelicans, home Nuggets, at Phoenix, at Golden State,
Mhm.
home versus Thunder, and finish the season at Denver. Oof. So that's a tough finish for y'all.
Yeah,
That's a tough finish.
it
So
ain't looking good, man. Like, I mean, at this point, like I said earlier before we started the broadcast, I'm just on NBA fatigue. Like I'm strictly focused on college now. Like and even the NBA is on NBA fatigue, man.
yeah,
The
it
game
seems
that
like
they
it.
yeah,
You
the
look
game
at
that
it around
they
the league, it's like
right. The
they're
game that
trying.
they had on the other night was the Pistons and the Magic, and that's the day
Yeah,
that
that was the NCAA
Sadiq
tournament
Bey
started, and Sadiq Bey dropped 51. No one's talking
dropped
about it.
50, right?
No one's literally
So
talking about it.
yeah, it's NBA fatigue, man. And plus, the Lakers are not doing well. Like, honestly, I can't remember the last time I sat down and watched a Laker game because it's just been so frustration. It's good for my mental health. Like, I don't even post a record anymore on my Instagram, man. Like, it's just,
Yeah,
I
I
just,
seen that, and it's like,
at,
that's it. They
at
got
this
him.
point, it is what it is, man. Like, I'm just tired of the frustration. Like, the team says, all right, we're going to come out, we're going to play better and just come out and just lay an egg, just play with no rhythm, play with no heart. We out here getting dusted by these teams. And, everybody's like, oh, when AD come back. But I'm like, bro, we've been saying when AD come
They
back the
coming for
entire
how many
year.
months? For
Like,
how many
bro, like,
months?
and it's just like, all
Oh,
right, whatever,
when
man.
AD comes back, they're gonna contend for the West. Like, against who?
Like,
Against
come on,
who?
man. Like we just can't get healthy. And it's just sad to say that when this season began, part of me was excited because, like, yo, we signed all these players left and right. Like, nobody could beat us, man. But then when things started to go left, it reminded me of the 2013 NBA season when nothing went our way. And this season is
Nash,
worse, man.
Dwight Howard, Kobe.
This season, yeah, this season is worse, man. Like,
Mm. But at least
like
that year they finished over 500.
yeah, we finished over 500. We made it to the AFC. This was no play in. Unfortunately, that Kobe went down with the Achilles and we got swept
Hmm.
by the Spurs. So, but even that team had a better record than us, man.
Yeah.
So, like, it is crazy because, like, we have more talent on this team and we can't get it done. Like, come on, bro. But it's unfortunate. It is what it is. I'm just ready to get the postseason started. even if we make it or not.
Yep. And all right, so the way he's shaping up now, Suns are 9 games clear of the next team, the Grizzlies.
That's
So
surprising, man. That's really
yeah,
surprising.
9 games. So almost a 10
That's
game lead
that's
for the
really
West, for the
surprising.
top seed in the West.
And
And then
I
you're gonna have a
know,
battle, and then you have a battle between Grizzlies Warriors for the number 2 seed.
yeah. And
And
I was gonna say when we gave our predictions, our early season predictions at the beginning of the season, I remember Ernest had Ja Morant as the MVP, and I was like, okay, that's a solid pick, you know. And but we didn't sit here and think that the Memphis Grizzlies would be number 2 in the Western Conference. You
right.
know, when you take everything into effect about like injuries of like the Clippers and the Nuggets and everything, you know, but that's still a solid prediction. But it's looking like it's a race between the two bigs, between Embiid and Jokic.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the fourth and fifth, which might be a playoff preview, Jazz Mavericks.
Yeah.
And then you got the Nuggets sitting 1 game ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves for 6.
Sheesh. The Timberwolves really about to make it to the playoffs, man.
Yep, they got
Yeah.
41 wins. Who saw that coming for the
Right.
Timberwolves?
Right.
And then you got the Clippers. They're safe at number 8. And then Lakers, Pelicans for the last 2 playing spots.
Mm-hmm.
As for the East, you got Miami, 2.5 game lead with the Bucks. Bucks, number 2 seed of a half game on the Sixers for 3. And then you got the Celtics at 4. Like it's like the way they started the season at 27-25, and then they're 16-3 since.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got the Bulls, who are still hanging around in 5th
Yeah.
with all those
Yeah.
injuries.
The
And
DeMar
Kuzma,
DeRozan
DeMar
kind of
DeRozan,
wave,
yeah,
kind of died. It kind of died, faded
he's
away.
like, it seems like he's running out of gas a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been carrying.
And then you got Caruso who just came back not too long
Mm-hmm.
ago.
Yeah. Something that they needed.
hmm
Definitely
And
needed
then
him.
Cleveland at number 6, who was just barely holding on to the 6th spot.
Yeah.
That's the last playoff spot because the Raptors are coming. Even
Yeah.
though they lost last night,
Surprising team.
I didn't see the Raptors like I did not
Scotty
see the
Barnes had 31.
yeah, yeah. So that's a team. That's I think for the team like if I have a team like to really watch out for, who can like really knock off one of those top seeds, it's that team, the Raptors.
Because they play together. There's no like
Yeah,
top guy on that team. Everybody just play together. Even though you got 2 pieces still from that championship squad in
with Siakam and
and,
Fred
and
Van
Van
Fleet.
and Van Vliet, you know, like they got a bunch of young guys on that team that's just dogs and they just bought into the system.
hmm
Yep.
And at number 8, the Brooklyn Nets, who's they're just Jekyll and Hyde. One game you get KD dropping 55, Kyrie dropping 60 on the road, and then the next game they lose at home, then they win another game. So it's like up and down, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you've heard about news about Ben Simmons, now they're saying that they don't know if he's going to come back to play this season. He just had another epidural on his back. So now it's like, is he even going to play the season? And now it's gone to a point where is Kyrie even going to play home games because the playoffs are right around the corner?
Oh my
And
goodness.
check this out: if the Nets and Raptors play in the playing tournament, guess where
Yeah.
the playing tournament? Toronto.
It's right. Kyrie can't play.
Can't play in there. So it's like,
It's tough.
ooh,
It's
it's
tough.
tough. Mm.
That's tough. Yep.
For those who said Nets going to be in the running to get out of the East, I don't know.
Well, we said this depending. It was a big if.
It was a big if.
Right. It was an asterisk next to their name. Whenever we brought up their name in the conversation, it was if Kyrie's able to play, if Ben Simmons was able to play, if they was able to come back and figure it out. You know.
I always say if you have too many ifs, it's not happening. And guess what? I don't think it's happening. Listen, because Kevin Durant now he's back into being by himself.
Yeah.
And then it's like he can carry the team, but so much.
Right. The role plays have gotten better because they was definitely worse before the trade happened, but they can only do so much. Yeah.
And then if you get a Seth Curry injury, Now you're really down to who? Patty Mills. Who's your actual shooters? Like you
Yeah.
don't have any shooters because you no Seth Curry, no Kyrie Irving at home games.
Yeah.
It's just Kevin Durant and who else? So
Mm-hmm. And Andre
it's
Drummond.
yeah, Andre Drummond, he can like give you a double every 3 games. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
And then we got tied for ninth, the Hawks and the Hornets. The Hornets won 3 straight.
Who would have seen that happening, man?
The Atlanta Hawks, who made it to the Eastern Conference Finals at
Crazy.
35-35.
But then again, they didn't belong there.
Yeah, it's like basically you get one of those teams that happen to like have a surprising run, and
Yeah.
then the expectations rise up. It's like, hey, this will be a championship contender,
Yeah.
in which they're clearly not, and then it doesn't work out. So they have 500 Hawks, and the Hornets they're over 500, and at 35-35.
Yeah.
And then and then you got the Knicks who won the last 2 games. They're 30-40. They're 5 games back with 12 to go. I just don't see it. I don't see him getting make it to the play.
What is it looking like, Eric?
I think they ain't gonna make it because think about it. They had they went 1-9 in February. That I think that cost them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all those games that they had leads late and blew, especially in February with the games at Portland,
that caught up to them.
Home games against the home game against the Nets before All-Star break.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a couple games. They had at Philly with the first time James Harden got there. They had a big lead, lost that game. They had a lead late game against the Nets last Sunday. They lost that game. So they had too many blown leads and lost so many close games, so many leads. So, and for them to at least get to 41 wins, they're gonna have to go 10-1 just to get to 41 wins. And now and I don't see it. I just don't see it. They're better off missing the play-in, getting into like a top 7, top 8 lottery pick and move up in the draft because they need talent, right? And also we got news that one of the assistant coaches, Kenny Payne, is now the head coach of Louisville.
Yeah.
So he went home to his alma mater, Louisville, and also he got word last week that Tom Thibodeau,
even he couldn't take it no more.
remember last year, Mike Woodson, he was also on the staff.
Yeah.
He got hired by his alma mater, Indiana.
Yep.
He took him to the tournament, and now Kenny Payne is back home in Louisville. So got to find a new coach. They got to find a new offensive coordinator because Tibbs coming back for his third year. If that's the case, he needs an offensive coordinator ASAP because there's no if this happened, if they have the same season next year they had this year, you're gonna have to can them. So yeah, and then the Wizards, who lost last night to the Knicks, lost 6 straight. They're done. Even though with the trade for Porzingis, they're done. No Bradley Beal for the rest of the season, and they just fell off the wayside. So they're 29-40, and they're 5.5 games back of the play-in. So they've struggled to since that 12-2 start, and I just don't see them making.
We all knew they was gonna burn out though. Like, come on now.
And then the last 3 teams, Pacers, Pistons, Magic, all been eliminated from playoff contention. Get ready for the draft.
Just pack it on in.
Yeah, but you know what? But actually, if you really think about it, the NBA draft has got more compelling because now what happened since 2019 when the NBA changed the odds.
Yeah.
Now you have teams who have equal chances to at least move up to the top 3, move up to the top 4. So now it's like it's not
kind of like prevent tanking.
It prevents tanking, but at the same time, it's like you could still win 34, 35, 36 games and still at least get a top 10 pick. Look at the Pelicans with Zion.
Right.
They won 33 games and had a 2% chance moving to the top 4. They got
it.
Pick.
Crazy.
So you never know. So if you're like one of those meddling teams or like trying to get into the plan, or I'll just say just play out the rest of the string and just just play for not the tank, but you need talent. If you know you need talent, you gotta go. You gotta go to the draft and get that talent.
Yeah. Yep.
Unless if you're the Lakers and you trade all your picks for Anthony Davis, now you're in no man's land. No man's land.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna conclude this episode of the Truth Podcast. I just want to take the time to thank everyone who joined in, who tuned in live, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit that share button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. You want to keep on spreading this more. Also, we're gonna make sure that we're gonna do more spaces in Twitter, so please look out for that. Um, so we got a whole bunch of more content coming up. Yes, Lakers and no man's land. We got no picks, even though we got tradable contracts. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You got the Pelicans and the Grizzlies getting your picks. Right? So that's what happens. That's what happens when you trade for a top four. Yeah, so that's
But okay, but when you do that, you get a championship out of it. So
you get a championship, and then again, are you gonna repeat?
hey,
Anyway,
we did, but hey,
we'll discuss this in the next episode.
right.
We'll discuss it in the next episode, right? So we're gonna sign off for today. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please subscribe, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share, and also look out for our podcast on Google, Apple, everywhere on your podcast where you listen to. So this is Eric Armani. We're signing out. Peace.
Peace.